Sitting still should be the easiest thing in the world, right? But for a lot of people, it is maybe the hardest. In this episode, we are going to move into the third mixed state, stillness and intimacy. What actually makes it safe to sit still, to use the restroom, or to fall asleep at night? Why meditation, yoga, and even bedtime can feel dangerous for someone who lives in flight or fight or freeze. And what changes the moment a safe person joins you in stillness, in safe immobility. I'm Justin Sunseri. I'm a therapist, a self regulation coach, and Polyvagal Institute editorial board member. You're listening to Stuck Not Broken, Book 1, Trauma and the Polyvagal Paradigm. And you're listening to the Stuck Not Broken podcast. Welcome. One quick note before we begin, this is an audiobook, and it's meant to be heard in order. Each episode builds on the ones that came before it. So if you're just finding the show now, welcome, and I'm so glad you're here. But go back and start from the beginning. It's going to make a lot more sense that way. And if you want to support the show, or you'd rather read, this book and the next two are available now in both digital and softcover. I'll put a link in the description for you. And thank you ahead of time if you choose to support the show financially. I really appreciate it. Last time we covered play, safety plus flight fight, connection plus mobility. This time we're going to cover stillness and intimacy, safety plus shutdown, connection plus immobility. What are stillness and intimacy? Stillness and intimacy are basically the same mixed state, with one significant difference. I'll talk about stillness first and then intimacy. Stillness is a combination of shutdown plus safety. Stillness is the ability to immobilize in safety, to not move, and to be okay with it. It's calm, relaxed, and even reflective. It allows someone to sit silently, to use the restroom, or to lay down and fall asleep. Immobilization without safety. Individuals in a defensive state have difficulty with immobilization. Someone in flight or fight may experience a neuroception of danger when they are immobile. For them, immobility is unsafe. They've exposed themselves to danger by immobilizing. Their body would be primed to run or fight if they were in the wild. They wouldn't sit down while mobilized for flight or fight. The gazelle running from a lion doesn't lay down to go to sleep. It uses the energy within it. Stillness, safe immobility, is not an option when you're in flight or fight. The immobility of stillness is without fear. Immobility with fear would be freeze. In freeze, the immobilization is sympathetically charged, which is felt as fear. The immobility of stillness also lacks the dysregulation of shutdown. If shutdown is dominant, then stillness is inaccessible. Instead, the individual feels hopeless, helpless, empty, and numb. That's shutdown immobilization, but that's not stillness. Those are different things. Children who live in a sympathetic state will find sitting in a classroom environment challenging. First, just being immobile is a tall order for this child. They're ready to run or fight, not sit down. But the environment and the situation itself will also have numerous danger cues keeping the child down their polyvagal ladder, like the people, the sounds, the pressure, falling behind in class, feeling dumb, teacher comments or sarcasm, and more. Traumatized individuals often have difficulty with things like meditation or yoga for the same reasons. They're immobilized and now open to danger. Closing their eyes during meditation is another potential danger. Certain poses may trigger a neuroception of danger in yoga based on that person's history. Compounding the issue is what the person finds when they look inward during these activities. Meditation and yoga involve and require a lot of self-reflection and awareness, somatically, emotionally, and cognitively. When immobilized and focused inward, there's no filter between awareness and what one may otherwise avoid. but that is still alive within them. Those memories, thoughts, and feelings will be felt in these moments of unsafe immobility. And on top of all that is the potential vulnerability of being around other people. Another experience of potentially unsafe immobility is sleep, or more likely, laying awake before falling asleep. Lying down to sleep in the dark with your eyes closed in the silence of night is filled with danger cues. And maybe even worse if the person next to you is a danger cue as well, or a past traumatic incident involved any of these potentially triggering pieces that I've already mentioned. It's going to make it even more difficult. Lying down and immobilizing to go to sleep potentially brings a lot of stress, anxiety, and worry, especially for the person who spends more time in flight or fights or freeze. In this context, your sympathetic state is active, and distracting yourself is now removed as a coping option. You're just laying there, immobilized, while possibly charged to run or fight, or living with fear in your system. Thoughts shift along with your state and your feelings. Anxious thoughts like what needs to be accomplished the next day, something you didn't do that day, memories of the past, and panic about not falling asleep. These might fill your head. Why is immobilization unsafe? Like we talked about last time with mobilization, anything is unsafe without an active social engagement system. If you're immobile, that means being open to a predator. That's the message your body will send to your brain. Your brain needs the social engagement system active to handle the immobilization and to repurpose it for stillness. Unfortunately, we need stillness throughout the day to get through a class, work, sleep, to use the restroom. These and other instances aren't exactly something we can escape either. We're stuck. Our bodies are charged if we exist down the ladder in flight or fight, but then we're immobilized throughout the day with no option of fighting or running. So our bodies don't get the relief of that energy discharge. It just stays within us in the system. Coping with immobilization. So we adapt. We do things to deal with the immobilization necessary in stillness. Not to solve the problem exactly, we deal with it. That's what I mean. While you're laying down to go to sleep, do you have a screen on? Something to distract you while you lay there? Something to listen to, like music or a white noise machine? Do you drink or get high? These are ways to distract ourselves from what's happening within. They're external ways of coping with the internal world. They're ways to get enough relief from our distress that we can immobilize and maybe even fall asleep. In the classroom, children often create behavior problems to avoid the unsafe feelings of immobilization. Behavior problems bring a sense of danger, which matches their internal state and provides the danger they're constantly scanning for, anyways. They may also be an outlet in and of themselves, a way to use flight or fight energy by fighting with a peer or running from one, for example. The problem is that these strategies don't actually solve anything. The energy isn't actually released. It's, if anything, probably reinforced because the student is, again, in a situation where they're perceiving danger without a way to discharge the energy efficiently. These behavior problems create further problems like getting in trouble, being shamed, and missing out on valuable social time. Students like this might be better served with classroom mindfulness strategies combined with fidgets, a way to immobilize and still have an outlet for their flights or fight activation. Intimacy. Intimacy, like stillness, involves the ventral vagal safety pathways, active along with the dorsal vagal shutdown pathways, safe but immobile. However, it also involves the addition of one key variable. Intimacy requires someone else to be present. The two individuals offer each other safety cues, just like with play. Intimacy can then be understood as stillness with a safe other. So that is stillness and intimacy, the calm mixed state, safety plus shutdown, immobility without fear, whether you're on your own or with someone safe enough to share that with you. Next time, we will talk about appeasement and fawn. These are the last two mixed states, and we'll also discuss how they're different. If you want to take this chapter further, the written book has journal reflections for it, along with primary source quotes and no ads. It and the next two books are linked in the description if you'd like to support this show. Thank you so much for listening.